wake your ass up, because it's time to go beast mode.
Good morning, afternoon, and evening, YouTube. It's your boy Ronin5321. Please call me Ronin for short. We are back, finally, with some more Apex Legends content. So, as you guys noticed, I have an intro, and as you stayed to the end of my last video, I have an outro. Shout out to my good friend, Take Your Soul, because he's the one that provided me with the image. All I did was just add some edits to just make them pop and look good. So, with that said, I now have an intro to start the new year with 2021, and I'm actually more confident in how my videos look. So, as you guys can tell by the thumbnail, this is going to be a comparison video between Wraith and Pathfinder. I'm going to try not to make this intro way too long because I do want to hop right in because it's going to be a long enough video. It's already going to be long enough as it is. I'm just going to start with some backstory. Long story short, I made two comparison videos. One comparing Bloodhound and Crypto when they both got buffed, and the second one comparing the entire Recon Legends next to each other, Pathfinder, Bloodhound, and Crypto. The Bloodhound vs. Crypto vid by itself has over 500 views. I wish all of you could subscribe, but hey, I'll take what I can get. And the Recon vid only has under 30 views as of this video. So, with that said, I think I found my sweet spot, and I'm just going to compare legends that are debated heavily throughout Apex Legends, throughout the Apex Legends community. So with that said, here I break down my legends with 5 categories. Movement, because Apex Legends has smooth movement mechanics, and certain legends have movement abilities that are really good, some more useful than others. Offense, because some legends have better offensive potential. Defense, because some legends have better defensive potential. Versatility, because each legend can do their own thing their own way in a good way. And teamwork, because this game was designed to be a strong team-based game. So without further ado, here's our first legend, Pathfinder. Now Pathy has been in an interesting spot, so I'll just start with this. As of recent, his current buffs and nerfs, his hitbox got readjusted to be a little bit bigger, and his tactical got readjusted to where it could make more sense. Anyway, and I'll break down these two things first. So his hitbox being increased a little bit bigger has some people upset because he has this little perk called low profile. There are 2 perks in the game that certain legends have, but depending on their size or how they play, which are low profile and fortify. Low profile will add 5% damage to the overall legend and make any shot that's not a body shot count as a body shot. So let's say you get shot in the foot, right, as a legend, or as Pathfinder. Great example. That shot is going to count as a body shot. Normally it would deal less damage. So let's say if you have an R9, which deals 11 per bullet, it'll deal 11 per bullet, whether it hits you in the foot or the arm, instead of being decreased like it normally would be. Now if you have Fortify, if you have Fortify, that's a 15% decrease in all damage received. All damage. So while you already do less in the arms and the legs, it'll do 15% less overall. That out the way, Pathfinder has low profile, and its hitbox is, according to most pros, because I'm not going to have this just be my opinion, but I'm going to have it make sense. According to most pros, Pathfinder already has a big hitbox. Like, he has a bigger hitbox than Horizon, at least from what I can see. That's besides the point. So, first things first, movement. Now, I would like to clarify, when I organize my legends based off of movement, or when I give them a point system, because of the way the movement system is in Apex Legends, I give all legends, mobile, non-mobile legends, a base point system of 5 out of 10 points. I do all my categories out of 10 points. I believe that is fair, because any pro player, any decent player, can be good with a non-movement based legend. It's the beauty of the way this system was designed. Because you could do wall hops, bunny hops, anything like that with any other legend. Like if you look at Shiv, who's a beast of a player, he plays Bangalore. The only movement boost Bangalore has is what is it? Double increase for like 10 seconds or more, or something like that when she gets shot at. But only when she gets shot at. Well, to be fair, you're getting shot at most of the time. But you know, you get what I'm saying? It's just one of those things. If anything, it's harder to control your movement if you have faster movement, because then you're not going to be able to be as accurate as you want to be. So for this category, I give Pathfinder a 8.5. In my last video, or comparison video, I gave Pathfinder an 8. Now the reason why I'm giving him an 8.5 is because his tactical got readjusted to where it made more sense. Originally, or prior to the readjustment, it was 35 seconds long, and was based on how much distance you traveled with the grapple. Now, the way they readjusted it, it kind of works like that, kind of doesn't. So instead of it being based off the amount of distance you traveled, it's based off of how much energy the grapple used. So let's say you're doing a short grapple, but you're staying a long time in the air, but you're not really going that far. You didn't really use a lot of energy. If you really think about it, like, you didn't use a lot of energy to go anywhere. You just used it, stayed in the air for a little bit, stayed in the air for a little bit in the same spot. So your recharge becomes anywhere between 10 to 15 at the least, because you can only get a low cooldown of at least 10 seconds, max cooldown of 30 seconds. Now, if you use a fat grapple, and I say fat grapple, but if you use a long grapple, making you go a long distance, because the energy used shot you so far, you will get, it'll max you out to 30 seconds. Back then, you could bunny hop at the end of the grapple after you were done using it, and it would take longer for it to recharge. So theoretically, it could glitch into having a 42-second cooldown. So with that, because of the overall decrease to the timer, or I'm sorry, the overall decrease to the cooldown, and the way the system works and how it's reorganized, I'd give it 8.5. However, as much as I want to decrease this, to any new Pathfinder player, this rating can be decreased a little bit, because while Pathfinder is using his grapple, he can still be shot at. And with low profile, he can still take a decent amount of damage. Not to say that it's easy for Pathfinder to get shot while moving. You have to have some pretty good aim or good prediction skills to predict where a Pathfinder is headed, or a moving Pathfinder is going. But yeah. What else? Because of the hitbox, he can be easier hit. I think I said that already. To be honest, back then when Pathfinder was first in here, he had a 15-second cooldown, and for a time I was upset that it was 15 seconds, because he could do so much with that one grapple, and he could catch up to so many people. Like, at one point, he was faster than Octane, and Octane's supposed to be like the speed legend of the group. So, anyway, enough detouring. I spent all this time on this one category. So, next category, offense. Now, I think I don't find Pathfinder to be a very strong offensive legend. Only because, like, he can get into a fight, sure, but it's hard for him to, like, conceal his grapples. You can easily hear his grapples. You can use them as bait, but unless you're, like, being really smart about it, it's going to be hard to do that. So, for offense, and it's better to be offensive with a coordinated team. I would give offense about, well then, and minusing his ultimate zipline, by himself, Pathfinder can be really strong. Just because that grapple can confuse so many people, and if you do it in the right way, it'll confuse almost anybody. So for offense, I'll give Pathfinder an 8. Now for defense, Pathfinder, I believe, is more of a rotational legend. I believe Pathfinder should be used mainly for rotations and for avoiding fights, not really getting into fights. Because if you mess up and you try to get out of the fight with the zipline, it's going to be hard to escape, because they're going to shoot at you on that zipline. Like, people are stubborn in this game. So if they know you're low, they will literally shoot at you while you're riding the zipline, and you can get knocked or killed and shot off the zipline, which is, it's just not going to be a fun day. So I think Pathfinder's strongest suits are for rotations using the zipline, because his recharge time is 120 seconds for his ultimate. And this, actually, if you guys pay attention to this next part of the clip, because I'm actually about to get into it. Next category is versatility. Oh, I give Pathfinder a 7 for defense before I forget. Now, next topic is going to be versatility. So, Pathfinder, I consider to be a pretty decent versatile legend. He can potentially get into fights. He can potentially get out of fights. He can scan survey beacons, which is what he's really known for. Giving the next ring location. And getting minus 10 seconds off his ultimate cooldown. Now here's something that I forgot to tell you guys last video. Pay attention to my ultimate while I use the survey beacon. Boom. Full recharge. So what I forgot to mention, and what Pathfinder has had ever since he got his buff, due to the fact that all survey character, or not survey characters, recon characters got a buff to scan recon beacons, they tried to give Pathfinder some love back because that was the only Pathfinder was the only legend that could do that. So they really indirectly nerfed Pathfinder by giving other legends the ability to do so. And I say indirectly nerfed because now you can bring a character like Bloodhound into a ranked game, and Bloodhound's pretty interesting. He's way more aggressive in my opinion than Pathfinder. It's just he doesn't really lack that much movement except for his ultimate, but that's not the point. Whenever you use a survey beacon, or whenever you use an unused survey beacon as a Pathfinder, you get an instant ultimate recharge along with the minus 10 seconds to his 120 second ultimate cooldown. I didn't know that, or at least I wasn't aware of that. I noticed that a couple of my gameplays even after I posted the video. Probably should have adjusted the video I had made, but personally I didn't really feel like going back into it, but spending it now. So in terms of versatility, I give Pathfinder a 9. Just because he has rotations, he can get into the fight, the survey beacon allows his cooldown to be smaller. Theoretically speaking, you can get Pathfinder's ultimate to 60 seconds if you use all 6 survey beacons. But realistically speaking, you're only going to use the survey beacon, what, 3 times? Maybe 4, if it's close by. So you can have it for about 80 to 90 seconds. That's realistically speaking, like, I think. I only used the survey beacon like once in this whole game, I think. So, for versatility, 9 out of 10. Solid 9 out of 10. I think his rotations, you can win a game off rotations alone. Like, do me a solid. Next time you play Pathfinder, don't even fight. If you have friends, play with friends. Don't go into fights. Don't go into a fight unless you need to fight, but just rotate. Get to the next ring location, loot up, rotate, do a little bit of third partying, but try not to fight that much. You can easily win off rotations alone. And then, lastly, teamwork. So I think every legend has the potential to be super duper strong if you have a coordinated team. That's the way this whole Apex game was designed. Each legend has a specific toolkit that can be that can complement other legends and their toolkits, or work with their toolkit in some other way. So, with that said, teamwork for Pathfinder gets an 8 because you can rotate. You need you can push into fights. You can get out of the fights. I think Pathfinder is a more rotational legend instead of a get into the fight legend, but it's all about how you prefer. It's all about your preferred playstyle at the end of the day. And with that said, Pathfinder's total score becomes a 40.5 out of 50. Now, just a heads up, my score system does not mean a legend is better than the others. How I designed it is based off of attributes. How much does the legend actually provide, and how much potential does it have in comparison to other legends? So, next up, we have Wraith. So this video is already long, and I don't want to try to explain all the backstories of every legend and all their quirks and stuff like that. I'll just say it like this. The most recent change to Wraith has been the way she runs. And what I mean by that is how her hitbox looks like when she runs. For those of you that have been playing for a while, should know that Wraith runs like a certain anime character that some of us should know of, and if not, I'll just say it like this. Wraith kind of runs like a ninja, like head leaned forward in an arrow-like state, hands behind her back, just runs like that, right? It's kind of cool, right? Because Wraith is like the ninja of the group, besides Crypto, in my opinion. Anyway, so they changed this because it's hard to hit Wraith because with how she ran, her head was ducking, and it was really hard to hit her as she ran because it changed her whole hitbox. And they tweaked it a little bit to where she stands up straight. So far, that's been the only change. If I go back to pre-season 6 or pre-season 5, her tactical startup got increased from 0.4 seconds to 1.2 seconds, and her ultimate distance got decreased from 100 meters to 75 meters. But I'll go into that with more detail. So, first things first, movement. As much as I want to say Wraith has a weaker movement in a sense than Pathy, it's hard for me to really say that just because Pathfinder's movement skill and Wraith's movement skill both do different things. So Wraith's movement skill, tactical, is called Into the Void, right? What this allows her to do is that when she starts it, she avoids damage, has a 30% speed boost, and can see where her teammates and enemies are while in the void for 4 seconds. It's pretty good. However, while you're in the void, you cannot open doors, and that's actually it. You can't open doors. It's interesting. Think about, because you avoid all damage, right? That's the good thing. That's why Wraith is considered the best, because you can avoid damage. However, let's say someone closes the door while you're in the house. You're essentially trapped, and they can predict where you're going to go, because there's no other place you can go. And the moment you step out of the void, you can't get access to your gun for a good couple of seconds. So, not only can you get trapped, but you also don't have access to your weapon, and you have a trail, so enemies know where you're headed, or can follow you at least. So if you pop out of the void, and you're not guns ready, and you're trapped, you're screwed. That's the best way I could say it. However, Pathfinder, and when I compare it to Pathfinder, I think of it like this. Pathfinder can hit places that most legends can't, besides Loba, Horizon, and Octane. Maybe Loba and Octane, but definitely Horizon, right? But in close quarters, if you're really skilled, you can kind of use a short grapple to dodge a decent amount of bullets or confuse your enemy, because you have access to your guns while using the grapple. It's a fair game at that point. And while you're still able to get shot, this also relies on how good your movement skills are versus how good your opponent's shooting skills are. So if you're good using short graps at dodging bullets and landing back down and being able to shoot while doing all that at the same time, you're pretty much golden. So, the only reason why I'm giving Wraith an 8 out of 10, which is a half point less than Pathfinder, is because Pathfinder relies on... Pathfinder can get into certain places and has the ability to dodge bullets in a way that Wraith can't. But Wraith having a speed boost, being immune to damage, and being able to get out and move safely, it's kind of like, it makes me want to tie up the score. So it really depends on what you like to do. However, I can say it like this. Wraith's Tactical has a 25-second recharge, and you can avoid ring damage, which is also useful if you're trying to get out of Storm, and along with the boost, which should help you. The way Pathfinder works, I know I'm trying to break down Wraith, but it's hard for me to not compare these two tacticals, because in my opinion, Wraith and Pathfinder are both travel legends. Like when I say travel legends, like they both have good tacticals, but their ultimates ultimately move their teammates around, right? The only difference is that Pathfinder's zipline, which is his ultimate, is much quicker than Wraith's portal, because with Wraith's portal you gotta set it up, and then it's gotta move, and then you gotta move Wraith and stay in the same spot, wait for Wraith to finish, all that, you know. La-di-da-di-da. So in terms of movement, I'm giving Wraith an 8. I'll go more in depth to the abilities later. Offensively, Wraith is considered the most offensive legend in the game. Wraith is considered by most pros to be the best legend in the game, just because of the size of her hitbox, how hard she is to hit, that her tactical can avoid damage.
Let's go this way.
The only thing that puts Pathfinder under Wraith, essentially, is the fact that Pathfinder still has low profile, which Wraith does, but in Wraith's case, it makes a little bit more sense, because Wraith hitbox is way smaller than Pathy's. It's a noticeable difference in terms of hitbox. But, yeah, Wraith also has low profile, which you don't remember, is 5% damage increase, and all shots count as body shots. And, offensively, if you have good movement skills, Wraith can essentially be like Neo from the Matrix and dodge a decent amount of bullets, unless your opponent is just really good at shooting. So, and with the ultimate ability, you can get your team into fights quicker. As I said, the ultimate charge is 150 seconds, so 2.5 minutes. I wouldn't... it's more or less offensive and defensive. So for movement, I'll give... For offensive, I'll give 8.5. Only because, let's say you use Pathy, right? You use Pathy's zipline. It's hard for Pathy to sneak in a zipline against the third party, because you'll hear it, and then you'll hear people coming. For a Wraith, sure, you can hear the port, but you don't know where that port's coming from. You can just assume that, where they're coming from, because the zipline can only reach certain places, like height and all that stuff. The portal, when using the portal, you can open doors. You can't take ziplines. I should probably start with that first. When you're using the ultimate, Wraith's ultimate, you cannot take ziplines. This is something that I forget, and you actually see in this gameplay if we get there. But, you cannot take ziplines. You can only travel certain distances. So in terms of offensive potential, I give, Wraith an 8.5. Now that I think about it, I might actually rearrange this, because... well, look at that. No, I won't edit this out. I actually want to talk about this. So, I might actually change Pathfinder's offensive score because something just hit me. Pathfinder's zipline can hit places that, well, I don't know why it just hit me. I always knew this. Pathfinder's zipline can hit places that Wraith's ultimate can't. Pathfinder can get height. Wraith can get distance. I mean, Pathfinder can get distance too, but Pathfinder has distance and height versus Wraith, who has to like go upstairs or open doors or actually move around a little bit. So, it's interesting, now that I think about it. So I might actually increase Pathfinder's offensive score. Alright, yeah, I'll fix this when I do the overall scoring. So, I have my notes right here, so I can just fix it. So, actually, I'm going to do that right now. Fix that little tidbit. So, now, defensive. Now, here's the thing. I do not believe... I believe Wraith can be really clutch in the defensive aspect. So, let's say you're playing with a really coordinated team and you guys are doing the right things every time. Let's say you get jumped on accident, right? Or not jumped on accident, you get third party, because that's how Apex is also played. The best way to escape for that is with your port. However, I'm going to quote a popular streamer here, or YouTuber. I think he's also a pro player? Was a pro player? I have no idea. Or, I have some idea. Knuckle Puffs. If you guys don't know who he is, look him up. He's awesome, he's funny, and he does guides and all this craziness. And the way he explained Wraith was that once you start using this portal, you give the advantage to the other team, because then they realize, or at least how he thinks about it like this: if Wraith is using a port to try and get her team out of there, that fight just went from a 3v3 to a 3v2, because you can't access your guns in port, or while you're using the ultimate, right? That's the way Knuckle Puffs thinks. And he also said, but you could also use this to your advantage. If people are itching to to fight you, you can use, you can activate the port as bait, because if you activate the portal on accident, it's not the end of the world. You can move like 4%, and you can cancel it. But any more than 5%, and then you've wasted your ult when you move. So you guys, when you use the ult, you should see a percent meter on top. Any more than like 96%, and you've essentially wasted your ultimate. So if you activate on accident, click the ult again, it'll cancel, which is actually really nice. I didn't know that. So in terms of defense, I think Wraith is a better defensive legend, because the tactical, you can get out of there easily. The ultimate, you can get your teams out in nick of time, and you don't take damage while in the port. That's the thing when comparing Wraith's port with Pathfinder's zipline. With the zipline, you can get shot at on the zipline. With the port, you can't get shot at unless they see the other end of the port. But if you're a smart Wraith player, you'll put the end of the port behind some type of cover, or at least the beginning of the port in some type of cover. That way you're not getting beamed at from a mile away. So, defensively, Wraith gets a 7.5 out of 10 for me. Now, wait, before I forget, I forgot to mention this. Wraith's passive, Voices from the Void? Wraith's passive is actually really good. It's good to an extent. At least I think it's good to a certain extent. Wraith's passive, Whispers from the Void or Voice from the Void, something like that, will let you know the dangers around you. Now, some of them can be specific, like for example, it can say you're getting aimed at, or sniper. There's a sniper on you, which there's a difference between someone has either Kraber or triple take or some type of sniper. This is also something that I got from Knuckle Puff's video. Knuckle Puffs really helped me with this one. So in terms of abilities, Wraith's passive is pretty okay, because it'll let her know, and you can tell your teammates that, hey, look, potential squad nearby, or potential shop nearby, or a squad was here, or you're being aimed at. Be careful, be on your guard, you know, because one Kraber shot will mess you up, for real. It's and you'll never see it coming. So with that said, yeah, Wraith's defensive is 7.5. Now, on Wraith's versatility, Wraith, in my opinion, is not that great of a versatile legend. And when I say versatile, I mean, what can she accomplish with her, how much can she accomplish with the kit that she has, right? How I like to think about it is that Wraith can get you into a fight and can get you out of a fight. I don't think Wraith's ultimate should be used as a rotation tool, unlike Pathy's zipline. Just because it's very it's slow. And when I say slow, I mean you have to start the portal, and then your teammate would have to wait for you to finish the portal instead of just running with you, if that makes sense. Sure, Wraith, I believe Wraith is a little bit faster while in the port, but at the same time, you kind of just wasted a port if you're trying to get out of ring and stuff like that. Unless it's like really important. Like if your friends are looting and you're looting and you want to get into the next fight, just drop a port. Just be like, hey, look, when you're done looting, take the port. You know, but at the same time, no, I wouldn't. Excuse me, I wouldn't use it as a rotation tool. It would be more of a get in and out type of tool for me. So for versatility, her passive being able to warn teammates that, hey, look, listen, something's about to happen, or something can happen, or we're being aimed at, yeah, that's pretty useful. But unlike Pathy's passive, where you can activate it once and it'll happen permanently, a Wraith main doesn't have to tell you where everything's at. They absolutely should, but they don't have to. Or what if they forget? Or if they're not paying attention? You know what I'm saying? Her passive is more or less for herself, or is more acquainted with herself than it is for her team. So for versatility, I give Wraith a 7 out of 10. Now, teamwork. Now, teamwork's the kicker. Teamwork is always the kicker for me. Because of how well this game is designed around team play, or I should say how strong the game is designed well around team play, it is hard to... how do I say this? It is hard to base any legends by themselves. For example, I'm a crypto main, right? It's going to be a quick example. I'm a crypto main, and it's hard to solo a game with crypto. It's really hard, because the way crypto's abilities work is that you need patience, you need time, you need the setup. Sure, you can scan the... you can do certain things to make the gameplay easier, but at the end of the day, to activate crypto's abilities, it takes time. It takes a second. You're vulnerable. It's one of those things. Instead of being an instant activation. That's just how the setup goes. So, that said, I give Wraith's teamwork a 8 out of 10. Only because you give your teammates awareness. With a good coordinated squad, you can get in the fights and out of fights. That's really what this game comes down to. If your team is really coordinated, you can win almost any fight. The fights will take anywhere between seconds to minutes, or you'll die anywhere between seconds to minutes because you didn't coordinate with your team, or your team was just a little slow at responding. So... yeah, okay, so the adjustment that I made to Pathfinder's offensive capabilities, I might reconsider. I gave Pathfinder an 8 for offense. I was thinking about giving him an 8.5, just because it's potentially better than Wraith's offensive potential. But because you can get shot at while being on the zipline, it kind of just, it messes with my mindset, because it's just like, I don't think... I would rather have Pathfinder's height than Wraith's distance.
Last squad.
But I would rather have Wraith's safety than Pathfinder's distance. Does that make sense? It's just one of those things where it's just like, it's really all dependent on the situation at hand. So yeah. So Wraith's total score is 39 out of 50. Pathfinder's total score, I won't adjust Pathfinder's total score. Pathfinder's total score will still stay 40.5 out of 50. So in terms of numbers, I have Pathfinder higher than Wraith, but let me say it like this. Just because I've said it already, but just because I have someone's score above someone else's doesn't mean they're bad. I think of it like this. There's no such thing as a bad legend, just weak players. And until you've mastered your legend, or the legend you like to play with, then you can never truly say a legend is bad unless they have certain skills. So with that said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I have another comparison coming soon, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.